Anthony,
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
yeah, thanks for joining me here. I know you're very busy.
Well, no, it's a pleasure, obviously, to be able to be on your podcast and obviously share a little bit about what we've learned over the last couple of years building this company.
Yeah, well, I'm excited too. I mean, you guys are kind of changing the world, especially for contractors. I found out about you because the people who listen to my show were asking me about you guys.
Oh, really? Well, that's really great to hear.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it really is the best way to hear about something when other people have success in it. And you guys do financing for construction jobs.
That's right. Yeah.
So let's back up for a second for the people who are listening. By the way, those of you listening could be watching if you like. This is on YouTube as well, and it's here on the podcast. But Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you come to be talking to a group of contractors and construction owners?
Well, that's a great question. So first of all, I'm Anthony. This is my first company, as we were discussing before. I started about 3.5 years ago when I graduated from Stanford. When I was there, I was exposed to a lot of entrepreneurs and people who were building different sorts of technologies. And one of the things that stood out to me was that almost none of my friends and the people I respected were building companies what I would consider to be the real world. So a lot of these companies were focused on building communication tools or project management tools or even social networks for a very minute audience, and also usually people who are not professional. 14 to 18 year olds is a typical sort of audience that people focus on. And I thought, well, obviously the world's a very big place. There's probably a lot of opportunity to apply technology more broadly and make sure that it sort of helps people in the real world. And through the process of being exposed to various markets, which I think are traditionally considered aren't considered, I would say aren't in focus. I came across the home improvement market, and I became fascinated with the set of financial services that underpin a contracting business. And I realized it sounds like a very odd thing to be fascinated with. I'll admit that very readily. But actually, I think I started to become really interested in insurance in particular. Just reading about the sort of, I think in California, you have to have about 10 insurance policies to be a licensed contractor. I think in Utah, it's maybe 13. And the massive burden that you have building a business around navigating these complex financial products. And then I started to learn about financing, where I noticed that there was a real gap in the market where basically only the big box players could access point of sale financing, and there was a true solution for the 84% of small businesses in the space.
So you say point of sale solution. What does that mean? Tell me what that means in the real world, as you said.
That's a good question. So point of sale, point of need. Basically, the idea is, when you're with a customer and you're pitching a job or you're estimating a job, being able to provide them with monthly payment alternatives to paying out of pocket for the entire cost of the job. And so we tend to focus in what we call non-discretionary subverticals of home improvement, which basically means, situations where a homeowner is faced with an unexpected expense that is a big ticket item. They need the money quickly, and they're not necessarily price optimizing, which means, if you're a homeowner, you're not going to get the cheapest tile, or the cheapest materials for your house.
Right. So this is a situation where a contractor's in front of a homeowner and they need their roof done or kitchen cabinets done or flooring done or anything like that. And if I give a quote for $10,000 at the same time, I can say, or you can pay X dollars a month.
Exactly. And, I think that traditionally the entire sort of financing solution set has been limited to that in-home sort of end of the funnel closing process. But what we've built is a product that's a little bit more agile in the sense that you can also send it, for example, before you go to the home. And then one of the advantages of it is we let the contractor know how much a homeowner can qualify for and what those corresponding monthly payments would be. So that way, when you're going to estimate, you have a sense for what you're working with.
So you're talking about the dream for all contractors is making sure that the homeowner's qualified, like financially can do it. Because if they can't, exactly. Why waste the time? You're leaving your daughter's dance recital, your son's football practice, dinner with family to go to this meeting, and you don't know if they can even afford the deal. And so your tool helps me know whether they can even afford it or not.
Exactly. You can use it in a number of ways, and that is one of the ways you can use it, because what it is really a soft credit pull on the homeowner. So, it doesn't ding their credit score and as I'm sure you know, a lot of the traditional players, tend to do hard pulls and they get the decision, immediately. But on the other side, if the person gets rejected, they see a hit to their credit score. In our case, it's a very simple 60-second process where you can see a set of options that you qualify for, and then the contractor now knows what they're working with in terms of budget.
Wow, what a dream that is. Before I show up to somebody's house, I know if they're financially qualified to do any work.
Yes, I mean that doesn't mean you can't also use it after you've already estimate. Yeah, but that is one cool use case that I get pretty excited about. We sort of call it internally "know before you go," especially if you're getting a ton of inbound and you really want to sort of qualify it. It's an additional step you can put at the top of your sales process to help you sort of know where to spend your energy.
Now, I heard about you guys, I think the first time, I've heard dribs and drabs about you guys from different places, as I said in the beginning, but I first heard about you guys through cabinet makers, kitchen cabinets. What are some of the industries that are really latching onto this idea?
Well, so there's two things. So the first, we like to focus on what we call non-discretionary. So usually situations where somebody hasn't been planning to get a home improvement, but they find themselves in a situation where they have to. And obviously, many people don't know this, but that's about half the market. So that's one dimension where I think we focus. And then the other one is that our solution is, I think, the first to market in terms of being able to serve the small business. So where traditional financing companies require a couple $1 million of revenue, couple years of in business, audited financial statements, ours is a solution that's a software-driven solution where you can get set up, same day that you sign up, and you can start offering, financing right there and then. And you can do that whether you're a 1 or 2 person shop, or if you're a large, as we have large established players that have been in the business 30 years.
So if I'm an HVAC company, I can use this. If I'm a smaller renovation or mold remediation company, I can use this as well.
Exactly. And that's a really key part of our focus, because we had the opportunity to go what we call upmarket, which is, work with larger contractors. And there is certainly an opportunity there. But my vision for the business is really to enable the small business contractor with financial services. And obviously we're starting with credit. And I'm happy to get into this in a little bit more detail if you think it might be worthwhile. But basically, there's a lot of really exciting things going on in technology right now that are enabling us to repackage financial services to benefit businesses and make financial services much more accessible, broadly speaking. And I think this is a really important step in the right direction towards moving all of that technology innovation into the real economy.
Well, I want to hear about that. Let me take a step back as well, because people listening are going, okay, I can charge 10 grand like I normally do and do my, deposits and holdbacks and things, or I can do financing, but how do I get paid is what people are going to be asking right now. So if they take the financing option, how does the contractor get paid? What kind of terms are, how do they get paid? Short question.
So basically you're turning the homeowner into a cash buyer. So you get paid, in whatever way you'd like to get paid, and whatever way you usually get paid with a cash buyer. A lot of our contractors like to get paid up front for the entirety of the project, especially if it's a roof or something of that nature. Or you can schedule it out as some do, but the money goes to the homeowner where they get the lump sum of the project up front and begin to start to pay monthly payments. But from your perspective, they basically become a cash buyer.
So we're just giving them the cash. So instead of, is 10,000 a fair number to use? What's your average transaction?
That's about our average. Yeah. I'd say our average is maybe even a little lower than that.
Okay. So let's just say 10 grand for easy. So the homeowner, Mr. and Mrs. Lopez, get the $10,000 loan. They get approved for that. I'm going to bill them as normal, and they're going to pay me out of that lump of funds.
Exactly.
Wow. And so 10% deposit, and then 40%, 10% holdback, or whatever we do. That's
exactly
between myself and the Lopez family.
Exactly. So there's no completion certificates or anything of that nature that you sort of you're not accountable to us in terms of the project and the payments. That's between you and the homeowner, and that's sort of an important philosophy to approach it with. We really want to give as much control to the individual business as possible.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, if anybody has questions on this, shoot me a note directly through the podcast or through the website, through any of the gajillion ways to find me online, and I'll connect you with Anthony's team. You guys are called Hearth Financial.
It's just Hearth.
Hearth, like fireplace hearth.
Exactly.
We have lots of stonemasons on here.
Excellent. Well, we've got the name for it.
No kidding. So what are some of the cool, like, do you have any cool stories that we can, the people listening are out there, they're probably in their truck driving to and from a job site, to and from an estimate. They're looking for ways to make their business better, which is why they listen. A couple of case studies might not hurt. Tell us a story of a business or a situation where they've put this in place and how it's worked for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing we focus on a lot is ROI. So our subscription is about $1,000 a year, and we keep that metric really top of mind. And we try to make sure that we're driving for contractors a much higher return in terms of, new deals that they're generating with our financing product than they're paying us. Because I think that that's key. Even as a company, our number one value is mutual benefit. So this is a key framework for us. And so I think that, there's obviously every day there's tens, or if not hundreds of stories of contractors winning business with our product and being able to get their customers to finance. And as I was mentioning to you yesterday, I think earlier today, the most rewarding ones are contexts where it's a small business that otherwise couldn't offer financing.
Yeah.
Because, basically they were turned away from the big box players, starts playing with us, and then ends up, being able to win additional business. And I see this all the time in every subvertical. And we have a wealth of testimonials, which I'm also happy to make available should you be interested. Like, we're finding a lot of, fairly recently I was talking to a roofer in Colorado who just started to use our product, and very similar, just early in the game, a couple months into the business, saw an ad for us, decided to sign up, and now is started to offer it every time they, were with a customer. And now has financed $30,000-$40,000 in additional business. And what they tell me is that it's not only a question of, being able to get your customer the cash, which is obviously great, but it also opens up the specter of which customers you can address when you advertise as offering financing, which is a huge value add beyond the core tool.
That, Anthony, that point there is really one of the biggest takeaways that we can probably give people on this call is if the listeners are finding themselves frustrated with the kind of customers they're going after because they're dealing with people that they get by referral or word of mouth, but you've got clients that suck that are referring you to other clients that suck, you got to stop it. Stop the suck. You've got to get to a better quality of customer, usually in a better neighborhood or who have the right application, the right need for what your application is. And finding tools that appeal to those people, like finding things they want to listen to, is the key. So if I'm going into a nicer neighborhood and I want to offer my services there, I've got to sell it in a way they recognize seeing it. They're used to getting financing when they buy their fancy cars in their house. Why not offer financing? I was looking through your website. I pulled it up here. This is one of the testimonials that speaks to it right here. It's about a skylight. Skylights are only going to go in that upper middle class type of home, whether this is I don't know if this is a reno or new, but this is what the Skylight company said. We got set up in Hearth in minutes, and 3 days later, we funded a $2,500 Skylight. Process was simple for us and our customers, and the account manager quickly answered our questions. But there's a deal, a $2,500 deal. That's probably a one-day job for a Skylight guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you picked up on something that's really important to our product, framework and how we try to build our software is that, especially the contractors that we work with, they're not necessarily trying to get in the business of becoming financing experts. No. Their expertise, generally speaking, is in the trade that they focus on. And so as a result, we try to build a product that's extremely simple. It's dead simple to use. That's, what we always talk about internally is how to make it dead simple. Mm. And I think that we've been able to do that. And you saw that with, I think that's Hoosier Skylights, who's
that's right. Yeah.
Great ours. And we have many others. Yeah. I think now we're really proud to be working with just under 10,000 contractors. 10,000
contractors are using this already.
Just under.
Yeah. So like I was saying, I heard about this before I heard about you guys, and I feel bad for that. So I jumped on it right away. But for those of you listening and wondering why you're losing deals to so-and-so competitor and how you didn't get that job that you thought you had in the bag, there's a 1 in 10,000 chance, I guess. You can see that I'm not a math guy, but people are probably following what I'm saying. Your competitors are probably already using this and offering it. And let me jump to that for a second. What does it take for me as a contractor to qualify? What do you require of a contractor to be able to use this?
So there's no criteria for who we're able to bring on. In other words, your business isn't being underwritten. It's a piece of software you can buy in a day, just like you'd buy an Office suite or any other piece of software.
Neat. And then is it an app? Like, do I access the phone?
You can do it on your desktop or on an app. All the functionalities in the app are on the desktop and vice versa. Some people like to have whoever's running the administrative part of their business, send out the links to the financing and organize that with the customers. And some people prefer to do it in the home on an iPad or an app, and we have that technology available as well.
Yeah. And so all you're doing is asking the homeowner a bunch of questions. What's your income? What are some of the questions the homeowner gets asked?
Yeah. So, the most important thing in this context ends up being the debt to income ratio that the customer has. So in other words, how much outstanding debt do they have versus how much money are they making? And so what the lenders want to know is that. So we ask for their income and some information to make sure that they are who they say they are. But it's really a 60-second process that doesn't affect their credit score. And then we serve them up with all the monthly payment plans that we've been able to find for them. And that can be anywhere from 5 to 35. And, they obviously come into it requesting a specific amount, but we'll also show them if they qualify for more.
Oh, that's nice too, because then if my listeners are doing good, better, best pricing, they can
exactly
their offer and say, look, we can fix it for this, which is the base. It's the good offering. We can do it a little bit better for this price, and then even the best for this price. And if they've already qualified for it, it makes it easier for them to take that because they're mentally prepared and they know they're financially qualified for it.
Exactly. Wow.
No wonder I think about you guys everywhere.
Well, look, I think the key, what we're doing is new in that it's being applied to the small business and it's being applied in the home improvement space. But this is exactly what every single car dealership in the United States has, right? A network of lenders that they make accessible to their customers so that they can turn these, expensive lump sum costs into monthly payments.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's a lesson in business that I think a lot of us overlook when we hear ads on the radio for, the appliance company's having a sale, no money down. What's really happening is it's a financing deal that they're offering.
Sorry about that. I don't know. Sorry, could you go back? I think I lost connection there for a second.
It's okay. I was just saying that this happens in front of us all the time, and I don't think as business owners we recognize it. When we hear an ad on the radio that says Jack's Appliances, 0 down, 0 payments till January, they're actually selling a financing package, and you get a washer dryer with it.
Well, but yes, I agree with that. But the one thing to note about these 0% offers that I think is often skimmed over is that if there's no real such thing as a 0% loan. That doesn't exist in the market because interest rate is risk, and there's always risk and cost baked into issuing a loan. So what a 0% really is during a promotional period is the dealer discounting the interest rate for whatever promotional period. So that cost usually is borne by the contractor. And one clear point of differentiation for what we've built is that we charge 0 dealer fees. As a consequence, we don't really traffic in financing, and so it's a slightly different part of the market and solution.
Yeah. So I don't get charged on a per deal basis if I use you guys. It's one fee to be a member, and then I can do as many deals as I want. Whereas other options charge every time I put a financing deal on the table, which I think is why you guys are starting to make big strides in the market.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, because we don't limit how many loans you can issue. You can issue $1 million of loans and only have paid us $9.99 for our pro plan.
Right. Yeah. Crazy. I mean, it makes sense for a lot of guys have never offered financing before, so this will be new to them. So paying for the right to be able to offer financing might be new to them as well. But like you said, you're either going to pay one time to be able to access the financing or pay on a per deal basis every time you use it. And that ends up being more expensive quite often.
Exactly. And just to be frank, the way the business works, most of that is going towards training our contractors, because as we focus on a contractor base that generally speaking doesn't have financing or wouldn't be able to qualify for the bigger box financing companies, most important part of our business and the most difficult part of our business is really training and teaching people to sell with financing, because as you know, it's a different motion. It's about introducing something new into your closing process, and that takes some work and takes some getting used to.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're listening to this podcast because we talk about sales and marketing and operations a lot. So listen, we've talked about skylights. We've talked about roofing. Just so we can get a little more specific, can you take me through kind of the different categories of contractors who are already working with you?
So I'd say the most of our contractors are roofers, HVAC, general contractors. So we have a lot of people who are multi-purpose,
Right.
And all sorts of outdoor rolling. So siding, lawn care, fencing. I would say the vast majority tend to fall into those categories. Also, bathroom, kitchen, pool, and really that's a function of how many lenders we have. And some of our lenders are better in different use cases. So, for example, we have Lightstream, which is one of our larger lenders, and we find that they're very successful in pools.
In pools?
Yeah, pools. They're very big in pools, and so we've seen that since we've added them about a year and a half ago. We've seen a lot more success with our pool related trades, and that's actually one of the things that's exciting about this is that we continue to add lenders, which means that we continue to expand the sort of set of products that we can bring into the market and add to your toolkit for that subscription.
Yeah.
And what that does is it allows us to serve customers from 500 FICO to 850 FICO and offer loans from $1 to $100,000.
I'm going to ask the question because somebody out there is going to have the question. What is FICO?
Oh, good question. So FICO is basically the market's way of assessing your credit worthiness. So it's what the credit bureaus give us to determine how likely you are to pay back a loan, and it's very influential in terms of determining your interest rate.
Right. And because I have listeners all over the world, this is an American offering. This is a USA offering. It's not for Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, England, or Canada, right?
That's right. For now, we're focused on the American market.
Yeah, it should be big enough for you.
It is. It's a big market.
Well, that's fantastic. Like I said, I heard about it through cabinet makers. I have another podcast just for cabinetry, architecture, millwork, and furniture makers, believe it or not. And it's a very small community, but very passionate about what they do. But that's where I heard about you guys first. Then
and it's interesting because the product is accessible to anyone in any trade. And so we also learn as people pick it up and see success. So, for example, we've seen a lot of success recently with blinds. So companies that come in blind installation.
Really?
Yeah. So really the product can be used for anything.
I think, you know what, there is no limit on, nobody can tell us how successful we're going to be in business. The only people placing a limit on our success is right here. It's me and it's you and it's everybody else listening. People have fought long and hard for the freedoms we have. And if we don't take advantage of it, shame on us. I would never have expected that the blinds industry would even need financing, but it's great to hear that they do. And now there's no excuse. You just can't say anymore, people can't afford my blinds. People can't afford pools. Because now we've got an option to go to them and say, well, okay, if you still want a pool, let's finance it.
Exactly. And I think especially thanks to the amount of lenders we have, like I said before, this is an important point. We can really approve a wide range of customers. So right now we're approving customers, all across the risk spectrum, as I was saying before, which means that you can use it in all sorts of different geographies and you can use it in all sorts of different trades.
I love it. Well, I think it's fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us here. I guess if people want to find out more about this, they should contact me directly, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And the contact me, guys, at you can send me a text message if you want an introduction to somebody on Anthony's team. My mobile number is 604-837-8361. Or if you want to text me on my US number, it's 831-824-7850. Or the old-fashioned way, you could just email me, which is dr, Those are my initials. I'm not a doctor. DR at BizStratPlan. And if you can't find me online, folks, you really aren't looking, because I'm shamefully everywhere. Just hit me on Facebook or through the Contractor Strategy Group, closed group that we've got, any of those things. Anthony, any final thoughts? Anything I should have asked you that we didn't ask?
Well, look, I think that there's a lot more coming where, bringing financing to small business contractors is just the beginning of what we hope to be doing with Hearth. I think there's, as I was alluding to at the beginning, there's a lot more there in terms of making your insurance easier, making collecting payments digitally easier. That'll be coming down the pipe, but we can leave that to another podcast. I will say thank you so much for having me. It's honestly an honor to be here, and I'm really grateful to you for giving us the time.
Absolutely. So glad to have you on here. Thanks very much, Anthony. Have a great day.